Hi, everyone. Jeff Gayduk here from Leisure Group Travel Magazine. I am delighted to be joined this afternoon by Catherine Swan from Galaxy Tour and Travel. Catherine, how are you doing today?
I'm very well, thank you.
Good, good. Well, I appreciate you reaching out to me last week. I know you've got some exciting news about a trip that just returned, but before we get on to that subject, let's kind of start about the last 4 months. How are you holding up personally, emotionally, business-wise? Kind of run me through a day in the life.
Okay. Um, let's start personally. And I don't know if anyone shares this view, but to be honest, Jeff, this whole slowdown was kind of a breath of fresh air for me
Mm,
because, you know, as all tour operators know, you are just grinding it out, grinding it out. And so I have enjoyed that's such a horrible word to say, but I have enjoyed a little bit of slow time here.
sure,
Uh,
sure.
but I'm done with that now.
For those out there that don't know your business, talk a little bit about what you did pre your portfolio of tours, where you're located and such.
Okay, we're Midwest based in Roselle, which is a suburb of Chicago. Um, we do international tours, domestic tours, motor coach tours. Um, we also coordinate a senior group and do day tours for them as well. Um, we started in 2003. And it's been wonderful. Prior to that, I worked at a hospital and ran their senior program, and did that for quite a while and incorporated travel within that program. So that's really, by trade, I'm a music therapist, but working in the healthcare industry, that's how I moved right into the travel business. So,
Gottlieb Gold, if I recall
oh
correctly.
my goodness, yes, I have 10,000 members.
So you've taken this opportunity to slow down personally. One of the benefits, I think, of being a smaller operator is you're a little closer to your customers than some of the mass market companies. What are your customers telling you during this time period?
It's really interesting, Jeff. If you split our clientele, probably I know for a fact there's a at least a quarter of the folks who have hunkered down in their homes and condos, and they are not venturing out. It concerns me, to be honest with you, because we need people. But I know one gal in particular, she has not left her condo other than to go to the garbage chute. And it's been 4 months, and her family drops food off at her door. So there's that extreme. And then I have a significant amount of folks who are getting out and about. And as you mentioned, we just took a trip just a couple weeks ago. And I asked for a show of hands. How many of you have been getting out? How many of you go shopping yourself? How many of you get takeout or dine in? All hands went up. So that really made me feel better that they were already accustomed to taking the precautions, but still living a life.
Mhm. Sure. So talk about that first trip. Where'd you go? How many people? And how was the onboard experience different than, obviously mask and safety protocols, but um, the actual experience of the trip?
So this particular trip was scheduled in May, and I obviously had to cancel it. And when we canceled the July tour, because a major festival obviously was canceled, I decided to bring back this short 3-day Wisconsin, Michigan tour for July. Um, so normally we have, you know, anywhere from 1 to 3 coaches going on this tour. Um, I, I can't, I limited it to 20 people.
Okay.
And just because it was our first tour, I was running it, so I wanted to make sure all the protocols were followed to a T. Um, so the differences between what originally was planned in May versus what we ended up with, um, the folks, the group that was on board, I took their temperature as soon as they got on or ready to board the coach. I encourage, this part was interesting. I encouraged them, because we had a 56-seat coach, plenty of room spread out. And you know, everybody was so excited to see each other. Groups here, groups here, groups there. Um, Mask enforcement was
Good.
on the hand sanitizer in the front of the coach, in the back of the coach. The company that we used sanitizes the coach each evening. And so what I did, again, because I said starting up our travel program was really going to be not the money maker, but the confidence boost that many people, I think, want. In their packet, they received not only what our protocols were going to be, but what the coach company's protocols are and the hotel's protocol. So it was a couple pages, you know, for the hotel. But people, I think, needed to see that everybody is taking this very seriously, and their health is most important to all of us.
Absolutely.
So then as they were boarding, I had a little Galaxy Healthy goodie bag for them. And so it contained hand sanitizer, gloves, and a mask. And just to make, you know, if you turn on the news, I don't want to get too political, but if you turn on the news, it is pretty much doom and gloom.
Sure. You would think that there's a swarm of coronavirus hanging over your head as you leave the house.
Wait,
Yes.
so, you know, I tried to make it as upbeat as an experience as we possibly could do it. So
Good, good.
the masks that we provided were theme-based. So the material that was chosen related to the tour that we were taking. And, you know, just as a little incentive, I threw in, every tour that you go on with me, you can start collecting mask souvenirs because they will all be themed.
Very
And
smart too.
yeah,
So,
and then
what was the reaction of people on the trip? Did they assimilate in similar fashions? You mentioned the groups of people together, but the touring experience in and out of hotels, what was the feedback that you got from travelers?
um, everyone was impressed with the steps that each location was enforcing. Um, I had called ahead for our rest stops. One, I wanted to make sure they were open. Two, I wanted to make sure they would be able to accommodate a motor coach, even though there were only 20 people on board. I
Sure,
wanted
smart though.
that they would accept us. And so, you know, what the first rest stop was in a McDonald's, and McDonald's is doing a great job too. They are enforcing everything. They weren't doing dine-in eating, but people could go up to the counter, get their food, and then come out. And they certainly could bring it on the coach. Bathroom stops at the McDonald's were limited to one person at a time going into the restroom area. And just to enforce that, I stood at the door and was, you know, hall monitor. but you know what? Not one person complained. Everybody was appreciative of the attention that was being given to their safety.
That's awesome. What about going forward? What's the enthusiasm level? You mentioned that group of passengers that, maybe not coming back for a little while. Do you have anything else on the books for this fall, late summer? And, kind of how's that looking? What's the next step after this icebreaker?
I'm actually writing cancellation checks for a Colorado Historic Trains and National Parks tour. Um, People are tremendously disappointed, but the Olympic Training Center is closed, and two restaurants they have limited dining, so they can't devote the entire space to our coach. So too many variables were involved in the long trip. The airline was booking. If there was any concern, it is about the airlines, which kind of, Jeff, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. So on the coach, people wanted to sit across from their friends and talk. Nobody wanted the, skip a
Social
space.
distancing.
But they do want it on the plane. And I'm assuming it's because they don't know the people.
Oh, good point. Sure.
That's the only conjecture I can make. So when I did receive word that the airline we had used was booking to full capacity, that also added to my decision to cancel the tour. It was a long trip. We moved the entire state, obviously. So just between you and me, Jeff, wearing masks for long periods of time on the coach is a pain.
Oh, it is. Absolutely. Sure. You really go to appreciate people that work in hospitals and do that
Oh my
for a
gosh,
living, that they deal with that every day. It's crazy.
tremendous.
So that trip obviously didn't materialize for a number of reasons. I think it's smart that you're vetting the various components of the tour, and if you can't deliver the experience, then don't do it.
Yeah.
How's next year look for you, or anything else at the end of this year? Do you think you can go back to business as normal, or is this a kind of forever change sort of environment?
You know what? I still have a tour scheduled for 2020. It's Opryland Christmas. I fingers crossed. I'm hoping it pans out. We're scheduled to see a concert there, so that's going to be the determining factor if I run it or not. I mean, it's a name draw. So if I can't deliver on that, then that's the bulk of the draw.
Sure.
So we'll see how that goes. I also had a trip scheduled for December of 2020. One of the sites just called again, a theater, and said, don't mean to break your heart, but it doesn't look like we're going to open until 2021 now. So I canceled that one. 2021, I am going full steam ahead. I think it's important that we get the options out there. And folks trust me. They know that I'm going to make a decision whether to run a trip or cancel it based on their health security. And they know they're getting every cent back if I cancel the trip. So there's no concern there on their part, but it is important that people make plans for the future. And to be honest, Jeff, I have 4 envelopes over there with deposit checks for people, just because on this last trip I said, okay, stay tuned for 2021. You're going to see this, 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 and this. They don't know the price. They don't know the dates, but they sent in the checks because they said they want to make sure that they're on board. And then
that's the
yes. So the bulk of my 2020 tours, I'm just pushing them to 2021. They were sold out. It's not that much work for me. The trips have already been planned and designed, so I just recontact people. And I just want to do a shout out to all the vendors and venues out there. They are being so remarkably great at holding pricing to 2020 costs. Normally, we book the next year. Okay, well, we're going to go up $1 or $2 or $3. It's like, let's just redo your contract. Everything holds, which thank you to everyone.
I echo that. It's a difficult time for everybody, especially they're facing a lot of restrictions and how they open and who they can bring in. And those that are committed to the market are really shining through.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, Catherine, you're certainly a beacon of light in another
Oh,
travel industry right now. So I really appreciate the opportunity to catch up with you. Super excited about the first trip that went out and your enthusiasm for the process going through. So let's plan on touching base as we get through this and see you on the other side, I guess.
absolutely. Stay well, everyone.
Thanks again, Catherine.